Is it likely nuclear negotiations with Iran will succeed, or are harsher sanctions against Iran inevitable? Joining us is Mansour Farhang, a professor of international relations at Bennington College. Professor Farhang was revolutionary Iran's first ambassador to the United Nations, and welcome to the program.
Thank you very much. Pleasure to be here.
How productive do you think next week's talks are going to be with Iran?
It is very unlikely that the talks are going to produce any tangible, useful results, because the talks are taking place at a time when Iranian regime has gone through significant change. Centers of power have shifted from the conservative clerical groups and their lay associates to security and intelligence organs of the state. And at such a time, Ahmadinejad and company need enemies in order to justify purges and repression of dissent.
But the supreme leader and Ahmadinejad are still in charge of Iran. I mean, the center of power hasn't shifted that much, has it?
It's shifted significantly because the trials that have taken place, the arrests of the dissident elements or even experienced members of the elite, they were done by the Revolutionary Guard. And Ayatollah Khamenei, the so-called supreme leader, he is really following the intelligence and security organs of this, so that is the coercive apparatus of the state. And many conservative clerics have been voicing very critical comments about this shift of power. So even though Khamenei appears to be the supreme leader, but he is serving the Revolutionary Guards, who at this particular time seek confrontation and intransigence because they have to find reasons in order to continue their arrest. There is hardly a single day that the Iranian newspapers and the media do not discover a new conspiracy or plot concocted by the United States or Israel, and they invariably associate dissident elements with foreign powers. This is the peak of this process of purge and accusation. This is not the time that the Iranian regime is going to make concessions and show any form of flexibility in discussion with the United States.
So what options are available to the United States and to Western negotiators if Iran, as you say, is going to be so inflexible?
I think the United States should be patient. In my opinion, this is not due to rigid ideological commitment. It's due to the fact that Iran's foreign policy has become an instrument of maintaining order and stability within Iran. And this is not going to last forever. If they succeed, they will be in a more secure position to negotiate in the coming month. And if they fail, their successors could become more flexible. But at this particular moment, they are not going to bend, and economic sanctions could definitely hurt the Iranian society, but it is doubtful that sanctions will weaken the Iranian regime to the extent that they will make significant concession.
Do you think that Iran wants a nuclear bomb?
There is no question that Iran wants to have the capacity to make a nuclear bomb, but whether they will go to the last stage and transform that capacity into reality depends on how insecure or secure they feel. And when we listen to the experts, we still have anywhere from 1 year, 2 years to 5 years reaching that stage. But the intention of the Iranian regime to become a nuclear weapons capable state is beyond question. And it is important to note this was also the policy of the late Shah. And the present regime is...
The Iranians have always said that they're enriching for peaceful purposes only.
Of course, because they're committed to the provisions of the international non-proliferation treaty, and once you sign the treaty, it means you commit yourself not to pursue the bomb. But Iranian regime is an autocratic state, is a deeply ideological state, and like their communist or fascist counterparts, they believe ends justify the means, even though they have a religious vocabulary to use that concept, a very Machiavellian way of saying our ends are moral and justified, therefore it's okay to misrepresent the reality in the meantime.
If the United States edges closer towards sanctions, do you think that they're going to have any effect on the Iranian regime?
But it's conceivable that targeted sanctions in the area of international banking and finance, particularly dual-use technologies that could help Iran's communication system or the military apparatus, could weaken the Iranian regime with respect to equations of power, of balance of powers with other countries, but it will not weaken the Iranian regime's capacity to repress the dissident elements within the country. And that is an important question the United States should keep in mind. Iranian people do not want nuclear bombs, and the confrontation between the United States and Iran is fundamentally a confrontation between the Iranian political elite and the United States. The Iranian public at large has absolutely no animosity toward the United States, and that should be a reason for American policymakers to be cautious and to be patient in doing anything that would hurt the Iranian public at large.
Do the Iranian people think that the United States will exercise its military option?
Well, they fear that. There is no question. What happened in Iraq and what happened in Afghanistan obviously gives Iranian people the cause to be worried, but they hope this will not happen. Not because they will be the real target of such pressure on Iran, such threat on Iran, but also they're afraid that it will actually strengthen the most reactionary elements of the present regime. They do not see any relationship between pressuring the Iranian regime at the present time and weakening its ability to continue the autocratic, state. They are looking for the possibility of engagement, improving the relationship between the two countries, diminishing the animosity, and as a result of that, the regime will be less likely to pressure them, to pressure the dissident elements and use xenophobia or confrontation with the West in order to justify the repressive apparatus. That is the hope most Iranians have, and not sanctions or military threat.
What about Israel? Israel has often threatened to strike at Iran's nuclear installations.
In fact, the Iranians use that Israel and Iran are intimate enemies. Everybody knows that they have animosity toward one another, but except for informed people, few people are aware that each country has instrumental use for the other. When we listen to Iranian propaganda, invariably they're quoting the Israeli politicians in order to say Israel is an expansionist state and we have to protect ourselves against Israeli military capability, just as the Israelis use the incendiary statements of Ahmadinejad and other political leaders in order to say that Iran is untrustworthy and negotiation with this country is bound to be unproductive.
Okay, Professor Farhang, thank you very much.
Thank you very much. My pleasure.